I'm going to talk about how retainers can damage your client's business and cost them money if you don't set it up correctly. Hey, so I love talking about retainers, how they can transform your business. So very quickly, let's review. I know I always go over it. I am the retainer king. Man, retainers, monthly recurring revenue is so powerful because then you don't have to chase new clients around, right? You extend your relationship with your current clients. You get that steady income, which can really help you kind of relax and focus on your clients and focus on your business to transform my life and get a better work-life balance, all of those amazing things. But here's the thing. If you set it up wrong and you take something that should be done as a startup project or done as soon as possible and you try to spread it out over time because you want that monthly recurring revenue, well, then you can actually cost the client money because they're paying you over time. And then who knows, maybe that, let's say a website that should be done up front, if you're trying to stretch it out, building a website over a period of months, you're costing the clients money and you may be alienating their relationship with their clients. So it's not good. Or if you set it up wrong, you can also burn out over time, and that's not great either. So let's talk about what you should do. These are all the services that I offer and that we're going to talk about. And so we're going to talk about SEO, we're going to talk about web design, advertising, analytics, and consulting. Now you can, if you want to fast forward to those segments, I want you to at least stick around for this next slide because it's important. Okay, these are the questions to ask yourself as you're trying to decide, okay, do I do it as a project or do I make it a monthly retainer? So is it better for the client if the work is spread out over time? Or would they benefit from having the work done sooner? Kind of the same question, just kind of flipped around. Okay, so like I said, the example of the website, you want the website done right now. I mean, sure, you can't build it in a day, but the sooner that great website that you could make for the client is ready, the sooner their revenue will increase, the sooner we create a better relationship between them and the client. And so you wouldn't necessarily want to spread that out over time. So you're asking yourself, okay, can that work be done sooner? And sometimes that has to do with the client's budget. Sometimes it has to do with their needs and their constraints. I often say that retainers are not payment plans for cheap clients, but if you're just starting out in the game and you really need this client, maybe they're just starting out too, right? And so you really want to help them. You know that you can help them. And maybe you need that first client. Maybe you need some reviews, right? So I can see some instances where you might kind of ignore that rule, but and kind of proceed with caution and take something and spread it out over time. But generally, this is not something that you want to do. Okay, for each service, what do I do here? So we said it already, when you're building a website or you're building a digital tool, get it to the client and to their customers as fast as possible, obviously doing quality work. Or let's say they already have a site and you're updating the core pages because they will get great benefit the sooner that it's done. But what should you do on a monthly basis? What should be in a retainer? Well, I've talked about offering certainty, access, and insurance. That's kind of the support or insurance, right? Doing updates for security, who knows, maybe plugins need updating, something like that, or maybe content updates, right? Things are changing, they need the website updated, and so you would do that in a monthly format. All right, let's talk about SEO. So hopefully you're there when the site is being built and you can craft the titles and meta descriptions and the copy and the keyword optimization. There's a lot more. If you're an SEO, I'm just going over some of the basics, but it would benefit everyone if that's done in a startup way. Now, for that, I often come across sites that don't have any of that. And so then, yes, sometimes maybe, depending on the client's needs, that might be adjusted over time or adjusted monthly. Also, what we do is we create content over time. Remember, SEO is a competition, and Google wants fresh content. And so you are giving your customers a reason to return to the site. You're maintaining the freshness, you're creating new content. And then sure, a lot of times you're going to see how the customer responds. You're going to come up with some experiments. You're going to say, let's try this. Let's try these different keywords. Let's go in this direction. And you're going to collect that data over time and see how the algorithm responds, see how your customers respond. And all of that should be done over time. Now, if you're offering advertising, you know that you need to really put together the creative assets up front. Right? Maybe it's the video, maybe it's the images or the copy, but you need to do that up front. And then you set up the campaigns, right? You set up the targeting, maybe the keywords, or especially the budget. You don't want to get the budget wrong. And you have to set that up over time. So that's just something that has to be done up front. But over time, You optimize based on the results. You respond to the network changes and they offer new things, and you respond to that. You try experimenting. Let's try some new keywords. Let's remove these keywords. And then you report back to the client and say, this is how we're doing, and this is what we plan on doing. And all of that will be done over time in a retainer format. We're talking analytics and data viz. Okay, so maybe you're going to build out the dashboards or the reports that you're offering to the client. And then if they're dashboards, you're connecting the data sources and the APIs, and you want that done up front, because then over time, well, we'll collect the data, right? You'll offer updates in case they want to measure different data. They change their mind. You got to keep updating, connecting the APIs, or sometimes the software just needs updates. And then you're going to help the client as you report to them. You're the expert, so you can help them interpret the data. And all of that would be done in a monthly format. All right, our final one. This is how I do consulting in marketing. I often sit down with a company, I audit their current marketing efforts, and then I create a marketing plan for them. Now, you may do, a brand strategy, right? So depending on what you do, it might be something similar to all this, but that needs to be done in a startup format. And then, well, what do you do over time? You monitor and you make adjustments. If something changes at the company, or your plan is not working, or an algorithm changes on one of the social networks, you make adjustments over time, and you're there to help them. All right, so don't go yet. We got to review these important questions. So when we think about startup project versus monthly retainer, here are the questions to ask yourself. Is it better for the client if the work is spread out, or is it better for them if it's done sooner? Can you do the work sooner, or do you implementing the work, doing the work, does it need to be done over time? And then what about the client budget? I've said to you before, okay, I make some allowances if the client doesn't have that big startup budget. You can help them over time if you really need to kind of get your foot in the door. If you're struggling financially, I understand. All right, guys. So listen, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm happy to help. Let me know how this hits you, and I'll see you around.